Hi viewers, today myself Dr. M. Shanmugam, Regional Director, IGNOR Regional Center, Bangalore. I have with me Dr. A.B. Patel. Notice. Oh, okay.
ಇನ್ನು ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ
Okay. Oh, that time it will start. Okay. You see.
ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಗಿವ್ ಎ ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಟು
One, two, three. End live. No, is teacher go live. Oh, okay. Yeah. Hi viewers. Myself Dr. M. Shanmugam, Regional Director, IGNOR Regional Center, Bangalore. With me, Dr. A.B. Patel, President, AIT, Bangalore, also OSD, Officer on Special Duty to Minister for Agriculture, Government of Karnataka. Also, sir as the Farmer Register, University of Agricultural Science, Bangalore. Today we have arranged a special lecture on microbial management of soil health. As a brief introduction to about these, our expert, sir having the total of 45 years working experience, out of which sir has worked as a professor 16 years. And also, sir has worked as a registrar 5 years and director of extension 3 years, registrar 7.5 years, and head of the department 9 years. Sir having a vast experience as a research guidance, about 17 PhDs produced, and research publication about 27, and published article about 80 research article published, book written 17 numbers, and presentation about 25 presentation national and international level. And also sir visited countries like 20 countries in abroad, and also having a qualification of MSc in agriculture microbiology, PhD in agriculture chemistry and microbiology in Russia, and also other diploma program, add-on program, PG diploma higher education, PG diploma MCGA, PGD HRM, and PGD EM. So with vast experience, today we have very good subject expert to speak on this matter. Sir, welcome you on behalf of Regional Center, Bangalore. You can present your special lecture on microbial management of soil health. Thank you, sir.
ಓಕೆ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಆಲ್ ದ ವ್ಯೂವರ್ಸ್ and also I am thankful to the IGNOR for inviting me to deliver this important topic, that is microbial management of soil. So of late the soils are becoming sick due to the continuous application of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, weedicides, and all this has created the soil transforming itself from a productive, fertile soil into a problematic, sick soil. So the microbiologically, if you analyze the soil, earlier when you are doing the organic farming, we used to have minimum 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 like percentage of organic carbon in the soil. So now, because of continuous chemical farming, and the farming being done without the application of organic manures or green manures or biofertilizers or any other crop rotation cultural methods, the present status of soil organic carbon has come down to 0.32%. So when the soil do not have a sufficient amount of organic carbon in the soil, whatever method of farming you adopt, whether you adopt a natural farming or an organic farming or a LISA farming or a zero budget farming, whatever it is, it will not be productive because there is lack of sufficient amount of organic carbon in the soil. So when we say soil, though it supports the plant growth substantially, and almost out of 15 nutrients come from the soil. The plant is supported by 15 elements directly from the soil. So now on the soil at the field capacity, we'll have about 45% of the mineral elements, mineral component. So the remaining 5% will have organic material. So remaining 50% at the field capacity, there will be 25% air and 25% water. So among this 5% of organic matter, there will be at least 1% there will be population of microorganisms. So higher the diversified plethora of microorganisms, higher the interaction, and there will be a good beneficiary interactions happen, and the plants will be provided with the nutrients. So because of the presence of the microorganisms, the soil becomes a living entity. So how do you prove that soil is a living? Then how do you say when the man is, an entity is living? When you say an entity is living, that it should multiply, it should respire, it should grow, it should speak. And I say all that is done by a soil because it is a living entity. But only thing is you are growing fast and the soil grows slow. To develop 1 inch of soil on the earth's surface, it requires thousands of years. It may be biological mineralization or decomposition or erosion, weathering, chemical weathering or biological weathering. It takes long time. So, but it grows slowly. Then it moves. When you is a living means it has to move. When there is a rainfall and there is a drift of wind, the soil gets transported from one place to the other, it moves. Then it breathes. How do you say it breathes? You take the Warburg experiments and find out how much it takes carbon dioxide and how much oxygen it leaves carbon dioxide. So that means it respires. I say it speaks. Soil speaks. What is this Dr. Patil is saying, how the soil can speak, but it speaks. The language of the soil is only understood by a farmer or a while who till the soil. For example, when a farmer takes up the sowing, he feels that soil is pricking to his feet. Because usually the farmer, when he's taking up the sowing, he's putting the seeds in the bowl, he will not wear the sandals or chappals or shoes. So when the soil pricks him, he feels that the soil has become hard here. It says that soil has become alkaline here. It says that soil has become more than 8.5 pH. So all the seeds, farmer, what you put here will not be germinated. So he starts putting more seeds there, wherever the soil is hard, so that either of them will germinate. So that means the soil speaks, soil moves, soil multiplies, soil grows. So that is the reason it is a soil is a living. So once I soil is living, it should be hosting the majority of the beneficial microorganisms rather than having more of disease-causing microorganisms. But of late what happens because of the less of organic matter and too much of usage of chemical fertilizers. So the soil, when you analyze microbiologically, instead of getting the more population of the beneficial microorganisms, we get the soil inhabited with disease-causing organisms like Fusarium, Alternaria, Pythium. So like that, this kind of disease organisms are more in number. So the soil becomes sick. Soil becomes diseased. Chemically, it is diseased with the less of organic carbon. Microbiologically, it is sick because it is not having the sufficient titer number of the beneficial microorganisms. And because of that, structurally, the soil structure, earlier, a lot of sugar, groundnut is to be grown. And soil has become so hard now. The germinated groundnut seeds cannot able to enter into the soil. So that is the reason the soil structure has gone, soil fertility has gone, soil productivity has gone. And whenever you look at the large command areas, like Tungabhadra project area started more than 75 years back, and UKP started from 35 to 40 years back also. A lot of area, land, the soil has become sick, in the sense either soil has become saline, or soil has become alkaline, or soil has become saline alkaline, or soil has become boggy soil, inundated under water. So that means we are losing a lot of productive soils because of mismanagement, because of monocropping, because of growing single commercial crop both in Kharif, Rabi, summer, the same crop. So because of that, a lot of things are happening. So even when you use a pesticide, earlier there will be predators. When started using parathroids, the white fly was a minor pest in cotton, became a major pest because parathroids killed all its natural predators. So like that, now my lecture here is how best we can transform microbiologically, adding the cultures from outside to the soil, so that with the application of organic manures, these microorganisms can really help to build the soil microorganisms which are beneficial. To tell what are the groups of, there are different groups of microorganisms that are present in the soil. So there are bacteria, fungi, protozoa, even some animalcules like nematodes, arthropods, earthworms. So all these are present in the soil. So among all these groups, the maximum number of bacteria, say from 100 million to 1 billion in 1 gram of soil, so they are present. So what all these organisms should do in the soil? How we are working 8 hours, getting the salary, getting the payment, but these microorganisms are so eco-friendly, so farmer-friendly. They do not take any remuneration or the payment, and they will be working throughout the year, day in and day out, for the soil, building the soil fertility or soil making the soil productive, and they will be working for the farmer friendly microorganisms. There are different microorganisms. For example, we can say synthetic flora, so where there will be nitrogen fixing microorganisms, phosphate solubilizing microorganisms, organic matter decomposing microorganisms, antibiotic producing microorganisms. So this is how this kind of microorganisms. There are some disease suppressive microorganisms like Trichoderma or Bacillus or Pseudomonas, which suppress the diseases, and there are some organisms which, because the cellulolytic and lignolytic material, for example in coconut fronds and sugarcane bagasse, they will have a lot of cellulose and lignin. They will not be easily degraded in the soil. We do have such kind of microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, which can decompose and mineralize the organic compounds into a soluble form. So there are some nitrogen fixing, phosphate solubilizing, organic matter degrading, disease suppressive microflora. So if we want to transform a sick soil into a composite, healthy, productive, fertile soil, we need to create a consortia of synthetic flora, disease suppressive flora, fermentative flora, and all this together. They can be grown separately and they can be mixed at the time of they can be applied as a seed treatment, they can be applied as a soil application, they can be applied through the spraying technology. So even to help in extending the shelf life of the fruits or the grains, we can take up this kind of spraying of beneficial microorganisms or disease suppressive microflora at the fag end of the harvesting, so that they are useful not only to have a fertile productivity of the soil they will be increasing, and also the healthy food they produce. For example, we want to live healthy, we want to have a healthy life. How can you have a healthy life? Only when you eat a healthy food. So healthy food, if you want to eat healthy food, where does it come from? The healthy food comes from an healthy soil. So that means the health of a soil and health of we human being, there is a direct relation. If the soil is healthy and you are eating the healthy food that's grown from a healthy soil, and naturally you will be healthy. So that is the reason this soil microorganisms play an important role in the soil. And another thing is they improve the structure of the soil. Then what is the role of the soil structure? For example, there is a heavy rainfall, downpour, continuously. Now it's happening. It's all happening because of the change in the environment. The rainfalls are not regular. Though the total rainfall is more, of late for the last 2-3 years, than the normal rainfall, but they are very erratic. We need there will be a rainfall when you do not require. At the time of maturity, harvesting, if you get a heavy rain, whatever we have grown is being lost in the water, in the rain. So this erratic behavior. So when such conditions happen, your soil should be porous. That means it should infiltrate whatever the rainfall happens. That means the water molecules get infiltrated to the water, and that is how it should be well-drained soil basically. So this kind of microorganisms, because of the gummy substances they produce in the soil, it may be actinomycetes or fungi or the bacteria. So the soil will automatically forms into a crumbs like. So how do you say that soil is well structured? You take 2 samples of the soil, just leave it from your palm. So if it come down like a powder, dust, or in another form, the soil which falls like a granular structure, grains like, not leaving out any dust, that is a well structured soil because the crumbs are formed. So because of the binding material of the gummy substances that are being produced by these microorganisms bind the soil particles and forms into a crumbs and structures. So these structures in between the porous structures, the excess water will be drained off. And not only that, once the structure of the soil is good and the water holding capacity of the soil will be more, you need to have to apply irrigation so frequently. So it will improve the water holding capacity, and that will help when there is a long spell of dry spell after the rainfall. If the soil structure is good, so organic matter content is good, if microbial population is good, then such of the soils will have more water holding capacity. So such soils supports the high number of different plethora of groups of microorganisms. So like that, when you treat the soil with the microorganisms, there will be we have all over India the experiments have been conducted and showing that in the range of 10 to 25% there will be an increase in the yield level by treating. Not only that, we have seen in Vijapur, just in case of sorghum, we treated the sorghum with the seed treatment with azospirillum, and we are given to the sufficient number of farmers in one village. So the rainfall was very less, but it was so visible that wherever in the plots where the seed was sown after treatment with azospirillum treated seeds, in those plots, I didn't say that there was a heavy increased yield, but untreated plots do not produce the airhead, and even airhead did not come out of the flag leaf. But in the fields where it was treated with azospirillum, the seeds, those crops of sorghum, they produced a small airheads, and 2 to 3 quintals was a yield level. Here it was not even a single gram because there was no head formation. So this is how there will be phenomenal increase in the yield levels also, production level also. The soil becomes fertile, soil becomes productive, soil structure improves, and because of spraying of different microorganisms at different levels also we can improve the total yield. We can say, how can we grow without application of fertilizers, without application of pesticides? How can you grow the plants? So I can ask you one question. You go to the Western Ghat, or when you go to any forest area, who will water them? Who will spray them? Then who will apply the fertilizer in the forest? No. But still we get so much of output from the forest. We can now have a food forest concept has come. We get a lot of fruit crops, vegetable crops, then runners inside. All food forests without application of any chemical fertilizers or pesticides. So it is the soil microflora. So that builds the nutrients ponds, nutrients reserve in the soil, and all the leaf that is fallen from the forest, the litter we can say, that shredded leaves get incorporated in the soil and they get decomposed in the soil, and those organic compounds that are get degraded in the soil, so they will replenish the soil with the higher amount of nutrients. Some people say, they don't believe that it's not possible without application. It's not so. But when you want to grow without the application of fertilizer, you need to select the crops also. That is also, scientifically you need to select the crops. So which can sustain, for example, all these leguminous crops. It may be green gram, or it may be cowpea, or a soybean, or all these pigeon pea, chickpea. So they produce lot of, they fix the nitrogen, and whatever the plant demands the nitrogen can be fulfilled by these, that they form the nodules on the plant. So in the nodule, the free atmospheric nitrogen get reduced in the form of ammonia, and it is absorbed through the root hairs. This ammonia is, and the nitrogen is taken. So like that, a lot of, in case of, you go to Gulbarga, we grow a lot of pigeon pea there. We consider Gulbarga as a pulse ball of the state. So last year we have about 6 lakhs of hectares grown under pigeon pea. And recently the area phenomenally it is in the neighboring district of Vijaypur, 5.36 lakh hectares. So if there is a problem of the dry root rot or the wilt, this is common whenever there is a more rainfall or the low-lying area, the plants get wilted. So wherever in such of the plants also, in addition to the seed treatment with the rhizobium and azospirillum, if we can also treat with the trichoderma. So the root wilt causing organisms like fusarium get suppressed by this trichoderma, and naturally you can save the crop from the disease of wilt. And when you are applying a organic manure, usually compost or vermicompost, you use in large quantity, in tons. So instead of using in tons, you take a fully matured compost, sieve it in kind of a small screen. That screened, well powdered, mature, say ideally let it be 2 quintals, 3 quintals. You mix this azospirillum, you mix this trichoderma, you mix pseudomonas, and leave that compound, keeping some 60% moisture, keep that compost in the shade. Then you apply through the coulter behind the seed. So the micro environment around the seed, if you put this quantity of less quantity of organic manure, the compost or vermicompost, so that will give a better results than applying throughout the field and a larger quantity. So such now in the market, so a lot of different types of microbial compounds are being marketed. For example, of late, Government of India, the stock of particularly the phosphatic fertilizers like DAP, the production is reduced, the imports are reduced. Why? Because we used to import a lot of diammonium phosphate from Saudi Arabia, from Morocco, from Jordan, from Russia, and from China, and from Egypt. But all of a sudden China stopped the import of DAP to India. There may be some political reasons or maybe some technical reasons. The technical reason being, the phosphatic intermediate compound that is being used in the manufacture of the DAP, being now in China diverted to the manufacture of the battery that is being used by the EV vehicles, electric vehicles. So they want to keep the interest of their economy, and they are using that instead of fertilizer preparation manufacturing, they are using for the EV battery making, might be. And the other thing is we used to get the DAP now because of the Indo-Russian Ukraine war, or from this Indo-Pakistan treaty, problem. We need to, importing countries, we need to change the route. So the sea route, the freight charges, ocean freight charges, earlier we used to get $500 per ton, now we may have to bring it into $1,000 per ton. So the cost of transport is increased, the imports are reduced, and now phosphoric acid market value in the international market is doubled, and 52% is being manufactured in India, DAP, and now the raw material we used to import, and even local production is being reduced. So such being the case, so we need to depend on other source of fertilizer, manures, which can replenish the NPK. So very recently some of the microbiologists or microbial biotechnologists, they have started making these microorganisms into different forms, in the sense they are bringing it in a tablet form, they are bringing it in a capsule form, and they are making it as a high concentrated cell concentrated material. So for example, recently I have seen these potash solubilizing bacteria, lyophilized, and through the method of cell concentration, and they have made it a form of a tablet, which can be easily useful either for the use through drip, or off late we are advocating a lot of spraying technology to the drone sprays. So they are making it soluble form, just they can use it through the drones also, that could be used. So like that, so the nitrogen, phosphorus and potash, all these can be replenished through the application of biofertilizers. The disease management could also be made by use of this disease suppressing microflora like Pseudomonas or Trichoderma or Bacillus. So this is how from sowing to harvesting, by keeping the soil organic matter content, soil organic carbon to the optimum level, and maintaining the soil moisture optimum level, and application of continuously, maybe 2 to 3 years you may have to apply this microorganism. Once the soil is built up with the sufficient amount of these beneficial organisms, then there will be just application of the organic manure or taking up the sowing of green manure crops and replenishing with the organic carbon. These multiply in the soil, and the soil becomes a sick soil, gets transformed into a kind of productive or this one soil. You can say that we have actinomycetes group. So these actinomycetes group, for a layman, you can say when there is a first rain comes in the month of May and or June, first week or second week, you will get an aroma of the soil, earth smell will come. So that time we'll say, oh, somewhere it is raining, because we are feeling the aroma of the soil. So that is the actinomycetes. You give out the compound like geosmin, and that kind of aroma and smell comes to us. So we feel that. So these are the, they produce certain of antibiotics which suppresses the disease-causing microorganisms in the soil, and that kind of soil becomes, free of disease-causing microorganisms. So becomes more healthy soil, fertile soil, productive soil with good structure, and which can give you better yield. For example, some of the people like, of recently the government of India also promoting so the natural farming and organic farming, and integrated farming. These are all these systems require a good attention for the application of microorganisms, or particularly beneficial microorganisms. How best we can build the microflora in the soil. So in fact, when you take the example of high lignin content materials like sugarcane or areca nut. Nowadays, the areca nut is being grown in a large area. Some few years back, Karnataka had only about less than 1 lakh hectare, and today we have more than 7.5 lakh hectares of areca nut. So the areca nut fronds are very lignin material, a lot of lignaceous, and they will not be easily degraded in the soil. So that being the case, these cellulolytic microorganisms or regulolytic microorganisms and play a greater role in decomposing the soil. And you take the another important example of use of microorganisms in the sugarcane cultivation. So a lot of sugarcane trash will be left on the soil. So majority of the farmers, they just burn it, in the sense call it as a incineration method of burning. So that creates a lot of problem. Not only it kills the microflora in the soil, and it creates a lot of nuisance in the soil. So you just now make use of your science. You have some trash decomposers which can cut your sugar cane into small pieces, bagasse into small pieces, leaves, trash into small pieces. And when you cut into small pieces, the surface area will become more, and microorganisms can easily decompose. And you just put some of the microbial culture or decomposing consortia of decomposing microorganisms and spread it, mixing it with some organic manure or a vermicompost or a compost, and put some given variation. The entire sugarcane trash gets decomposed, and soil you becomes rich. You feel like moving on a kind of mat and a ratna gambale, what we call such soil. It will not be pricking your palm. So that is how the microorganisms can be helpful into this kind. You can say, in addition to that, the earthworms, we call them as biological plows. So the biological plows, in the sense, they burrow in the soil and they eat away all this organic matter and give you the beautiful manure. But here, you cannot leave the earthworms immediately you put the organic manure. There will be a thermodynamic reaction. So you need to put the earthworms after, say, 25 to 30 days, when there is a decomposition comes down, and then the liberation of heat is reduced, sun becomes mesophilic, temperature comes, and then you can introduce the earthworms. So here it is the vermicompost and the compost. If we compare the cow dung manure, and the compost and the earthworm, you definitely find the earth vermicompost 2.5 to 3 times richer than the compost with respect to the quantity of nitrogen, phosphorus and potash that is being present in the vermicompost. That richness comes because of the interactive microbial action over the compost. So when you take out the vermi wash, so there is another issue of vermi wash. So these earthworms, when the embedded with a lot of cut microflora in the earthworm, and they produce a lot of growth promoting hormones like indolactic acid. So these growth hormones and these microorganisms, all this nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, You just take out the vermi wash, which contains lot of microbial population and also lot of growth promoting substances. They act as a plant booster. You instead of taking any pesticides spray, you take out the vermi wash, dilute it to 1 to 2 to 3 times, 3 to 4 times, and then spray on the vegetables or any crop that is planted. Your vegetables look shiny. The yield levels will increase. So this kind of compounds which are rich in microorganisms will definitely reduce the cost of cultivation, cost of production. When you say the inputs, we classify them into 3 categories: high cost technology, medium cost technology, low cost technology, and no cost technology. So we should try to find, use no cost or low cost technologies. You can say, what do you mean by no cost technology? See, cultivating the crop across the slope is a no cost technology. You are not adding any additional cost. Instead of sowing along the slope, you are sowing across the slope. There is a no cost technology. And taking up the sowing at the appropriate sowing time, sowing season, is a no cost technology. You are not adding any another cost, sowing this month or that month, same cost. So that comes the low cost technology, and this our biocontrol organisms or biopesticides or biofertilizers, all these useful microorganisms come under low cost technology. So you'll have to find out a technology which make you to spend 10 paisa and get you a benefit of 90 paisa. So these are called as a low cost technology. Then what is the use of spending 90 rupees and getting just 10 rupees profit? It is a high cost technology. You are not going to get a good margin out of it. So like that, you need to use this bioagents very judiciously and also contacting the farmer. Nowadays, I will just give one example how these microorganisms help the farmer's economy. I will take an example of a farming in Kolar district. I will take the example of farming in Mandya district. On an average, not individual cases might be different. So the Mandya, thanks to Shiveshraya, they got copious amount of water through the Shiveshraya canal. Kannambadi KRS dam is there. So what do they grow there? They grow paddy, they grow sugarcane, right? And they grow ragi. Ragi, paddy and sugarcane are the main crops, and they keep on growing those three crops. When you come to the Kolar districts, do they have any irrigation projects, command area in the Kolar districts? No, as far as my knowledge, no. But the farmers in Kolar district, they not only grow, usually earlier we used to say that Kolar is known for milk and silk, but today Kolar is known for not only for milk and silk, it's known for flower crops, it's known for fruit crops, it's known for dairy crops, it's known for even agroforestry. We do find a lot of we call it as a fold agroforestry trees like tamarind. Tamarind trees are more in this one. They are now silk. So sericulture, dairy, forestry, agroforestry, horticulture, agriculture. So they are having less holdings, small holdings, but they take up the integrated farming system. They use all kind of different farming systems. So they club agriculture, horticulture, silviculture, sericulture, then animal husbandry. So that builds up the soil fertility. That increases the water holding capacity of the soil. Thus increases when and the event of high rainfall, that improves the soil porosity. So all these things will be added to the increased yield levels. Not only that, For example, when you take up more number of crops, agriculture crops, horticulture crops, then flower crops, medicinal and spice crops, aromatic crops. So in case there will be a failure of one crop, so the farmer will not be put at a loss. He will get another crop. So production will be sustainable and there won't be any loss to a farmer. When you take in the form of sugar cane, when you take up only sugar cane, and you grow for 12 months, and you wait for the factory order, and when you after harvesting also you wait for the check to come from the factory, it takes around 18 months. And by the time farmer who has taken the loan, that heavy loan interest, so that will put the farmer at risk. He will not be able to manage that kind of situation. So that is the reason this integrated farming involving different farming systems, involving application when a soil you want to make it productive. Because even if one says all soils may be fertile, but all soils are not productive soils. In the sense, for example, you take a good soil, analyze the soil. They are good in nitrogen, they are good in phosphorus, they are good in potash, they are good in micronutrients like zinc, iron, copper, manganese. All that nutrients are all good, but still we don't get a good crop. That means they are fertile soils, but they are not productive soils. Why? So they are sick soils, or they have become diseased soils. What happened? So when there is salinity and alkalinity develops in the soil, those your soils are rich in nutrients. The pH of the soil might be either, if it is a saline, it's less than 7. If it is an alkaline, it will be more than 8, 8.5. So pH level is so high. And next come to the electrical conductivity of the soil. If it is less than 1 millimole per cent, okay. If it is more than 1 millimole, 2, 2.5, 3, then uptake of the nutrients. There may be a phenomenon of diosmosis takes place there. And though your soil is rich in nutrients, because of the changes in pH and electrical conductivity, the crop is not able to uptake the nutrients that it requires. So that means the soil has become diseased. The soil has become sick. And now, the very important thing is microbiology. The microbes are capable of changing the environment and making it suitable for them to multiply. We have seen there are, even in UKP area, some of the microbiologists from Dharwad University conducted some experiments. They did develop some microorganisms which are salt resistant. Even if the soil is becoming slowly sodic, there are microorganisms which can sustain the amount of sodium or salt level in the soil and still help the farmer in giving the good production or the good productivity. So like that, there are microorganisms which can be thermophilic or maybe mesophilic or maybe psychrophilic. So it is a choice of the farmer what kind of microorganisms, what purpose he is applying, where he is applying, what is the dose he has to apply, what is the amount of organic manure to be replenished with the microorganisms. So like that we are taking up this kind of situations. Then when I say that your soil is poor in nitrogen, there are some different groups of nitrogen fixing bacteria. There are some free living nitrogen fixing bacteria, then associated nitrogen fixing bacteria, and symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria. So, for example, in case of the cereals, you can use the azospirillum or the Acinetobacter. Or in case of pulses or leguminous crops, you can use the rhizobium. And for both the cereals or pulses or any kind of crops, the Pseudomonas or the trichoderma can be used as a disease suppressive microflora. So this is one form of nitrogen fixing. You have three forms. So again, in Azotobacter comes up well in the dry region, and for cotton, sugarcane, wherever there is sufficient of moisture, this azospirillum seed treatment or a soil application gives you better results. See, they not only fix the nitrogen from the atmospheric soil, transforming free nitrogen into the ammonical form, they do produce the growth promoting hormones, and they do produce some of the substances which can suppress the disease causing microorganisms. So that is how this nitrogen nutrition is supplemented through intervention of this nitrogen fixing bacteria. So next, the important fertilizer is phosphatic fertilizer, or the nutrient element is phosphorus. So phosphorus, sometimes for the pulse crops, it is requirement is more than nitrogen. So this phosphate or phosphorus nutrient is usually fixed in the soil. If you take the nitrogen, suppose you apply about 100 kg of urea, the 20% of the urea is lost to the atmosphere for evaporation, and 60% of the urea is lost in the leaching effect, get infiltrated of the underground water. Then what is the amount of urea that is going to be absorbed by the plant is hardly 38 to 40%. So that means fertilizer use efficiency is 38 to 40%. So under the circumstances, if your soil is harboring with good amount of different interactive groups of microorganisms, this seed treatment or the soil application of nitrogen fixing bacteria can improve the fertilizer use efficiency also. You got my point? The leaching can be reduced, the operation can be reduced, then uptake can be increased. So these are the benefits of nitrogen fixing bacteria. If you take the phosphorus fertilizer, which is now very costly, and the availability is also slowly reducing, fortunately because of the buffer stock of the last year and the allotment of this year Kharif, somehow we have been able to manage the DAP allotment and DAP supply. But in due course of time in Rabi, we may have to face certain deficit of this kind of phosphatic fertilizers. Then what should be done? In fact, in case of Gulbarga and Vijaypur, where they are continuously growing the pigeon pea one after the other, every year they apply a lot of phosphorus. And some of the organic, agronomists say that you grew 1 year holiday to the phosphoric fertilizers in such of areas where the phosphorus is heavily, got fixed up in the soil. The phosphorus sometimes it gets either fixed up in the tricalcium phosphate in case of black soils or the alkaline soils. And in case of acidic soils in Western Ghats or Malnad area, it got fixed up into the aluminum phosphate or the iron phosphate. Then even if without application of the phosphatic fertilizer, even you apply the microorganisms, phosphate solubilizing microorganisms, treat the seeds with phosphatic fertilizers, maybe Pseudomonas. This phosphate solubilizing bacteria, it mineralizes or it solubilizes or it mobilizes. There is another kind of group of organisms called as a mycorrhiza. So mycorrhiza through its mycelia extends to the wider region of the soil, even to the subsoil. And this phosphorus can be absorbed through the mycelia from the larger area of the rhizosphere, beyond rhizosphere. This can go beyond the root surface area, and they can absorb this phosphorus. So that means the phosphate solubilizing bacteria either can mineralize or can solubilize or can mobilize through Pseudomonas or through Bacillus or through mycorrhiza. So that means here when you apply 1 quintal of DAP, which is having about 18% of nitrogen and 46% of phosphorus, so hardly 15 to 20% of applied phosphorus through DAP or any other kind of phosphoric fertilizer like single superphosphate. Only 15 to 20% is absorbed. That means 1 quintal of superphosphate or with 16% phosphorus or DAP with 46% phosphorus, how much plant is going to take up? 20%. And what will be the fate of remaining 80%? It gets fixed up in the soil, either tricalcium phosphate in the alkaline soil or aluminum or iron phosphate in the acidic soils. So, if you find after analyzing your soil sample that your soil is already rich in phosphorus, then there is no need of application of the phosphatic fertilizer again. So such the places you can treat the seeds with this phosphate solubilizing bacteria. You are now the micro in the trade in the market, they are available. So these quality biofertilizers can take care of your phosphatic nitrogen, phosphatic nutrient. So then comes the another important nutrient is potash. Now you replenished the nitrogen through the nitrogen fixing organisms. You replenished with phosphate solubilizing bacteria for taking care of the phosphorus nutrition. Then you come to the potash. Fortunately, potash is not fixed like a phosphorus in the soil. So now there are Frachiria aurantia or that may be some bacillus species. There are some phosphate solubilizing bacteria. So recently some firm in Maharashtra, they have isolated, lyophilized, and brought such kind of tablet form. Such of the potash solubilizing microorganisms can be applied to the soil. That means nitrogen fixing bacteria, phosphate solubilizing, mineralizing and mobilizing bacteria, or potash solubilizing bacteria. They can take care of all these nitrogen, phosphorus and potash. Then I already told you nutrients has to be mobilized or mineralized, or this complex form of mineral form of either nitrogen or phosphorus have to be made available to the plant in the form of ionic form. So for that, the organically fixed nutrients can get made available to the farms only through the decomposing microorganisms it can apply. So after taking care of NPK, you have to take care of the decomposition of the organic matter in the soil and to apply this decomposing consortia. It may be IHR is producing, US Dharwad is producing, US Shimoga is producing, IHR is producing, Bagalkot Horticulture is producing. All the universities are engaged in the production of these bioagents. So after NPK, you are taking up the application of all this. If you apply the organic manure or if you take up the green manure in crop or you take up the crop rotation, all these micronutrients that are tied up in this kind of organic complex compounds, so they get liberated, they get mineralized, and even you may not find any kind of micronutrient deficiency. You can find, you go through any fruit garden, fruit orchard or a vegetable orchard, you are really growing the crops under. I do usually in the beginning used to feel that we cannot take up the crop without the application of chemical fertilizers. But of late, the farmers, the innovative farmers, recently the Honorable Agriculture Minister visited a farm of Dayanand in Chinchali farm near in Chamarajnagar district, and he was able to grow 50 acres without the application of the chemical fertilizers and taking up a wonderful crop. So if you can able to understand the soil chemistry, soil microbiology and agronomy of each and every crop production technology, you can still, a lot of methods have come like Bijamrita, they can apply to the soil. So different methods are there. So like that, if you can able to prepare a consortia of microorganisms which are nitrogen fixing, desolubilizing, organic matter degrading, and disease suppressive or fermentative, you can. But these microorganisms, without the presence of sufficient amount of organic carbon, will not multiply fast. Because when they want to multiply, they want food, right? So food we have to apply a lot of organic manure also. So only thing is fertilizer use efficiency in the chemical form, and this even the use efficiency of this organic compounds that you apply will be enhanced. There is more the interaction of the different groups of microorganisms in soil, there will be a more positive effect to the crop. So by using, we are now finding a lot of cancerous patients throughout the cities. You find even in the village. There are a lot of, there are different, the people are becoming sick because of the adulterated food. And the food that is being grown maybe out of sewage water, or maybe there are contamination of the heavy metals, or there may be contamination of a lot of disease-causing organisms like salmonella. So we need to make the soil healthy. We need to take up all this application of microorganisms. So we want to take up a cultivation without the application of mineral fertilizers. We not only depend only on the microorganisms. We should to till the soil properly, apply the organic manures properly, take up the cultivation, cultural practices, properly, and crop rotation with good crop rotations, and mixing the crop, and mixing the cropping systems, taking up the multi-storied cropping. So all this different farming systems putting together in a small farmer, in a marginal farmer, good number of crops can be grown in a single acre. In fact, in Kanyarimad they have developed a concept ek acre mein lakpati seti. That means how can you become a lakh here in 1 acre of land? So this is possible, and use the low renewable energy, not depending upon this electricity. You can lift the water through this solar pump, and you can irrigate with the gravity drip without depending on the electricity. So there are, you can use this cow dung, produce the biogas. Then that biogas can be used to produce the cooking gas. So that can be practiced. So with this, I can say that the microbiology, soil microbiologists can able to transform a sick soil into a composite, healthy soil, and make the soil fertile, make the soil productive, and make the farming economic, increase the cost-benefit ratio of either a small farmer or a big farmer, whatever it is, whichever crop is growing. The soil is healthy, that food that you produce will be healthy, that people who are eating that healthy food will be healthy. So to they make the soil healthy, to prepare the healthy people, to make the people healthy. Thank you, Nandal. I thank wholeheartedly the IGNOW, and especially the Dr. Shanmugam, the Regional Director of IGNOW Bangalore Center, for inviting me and contribute, my experience. Many of the things that are not found in the books, with my field experience over the saga of my journey of more than 45 years of the professional journey, I have tried my best to communicate to the viewers, to the listeners, what best the microbiology can be useful in the farming sector. Thank you all and all.
Thank you, sir. A very good presentation on behalf of Region Center Bangalore. I thanks you. Very wonderful and very useful and the message you given through your lecture on microbial management of soil. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you also. Thank you, sir. I didn't see anything on this.
Yeah.